used to work at a reputable audit company. Those familiar with me will recognize the company. I'm certain my colleagues will come across this on Reddit, as I've seen them browse the site during office hours. It's been approximately 2 days since the incident, and I can't shake the feeling of being watched. Each passing night, the shadows in my room seem to grow darker and have more substance. I fear I'm losing my sanity. My fellow co-workers, as you read this, I'm uncertain if I'll still be alive. However, please, heed my warning. You must put an end to this curse before it's too late. The fluorescent hum of the third-floor office lights was a stark contrast to the deserted building. June 23rd, 11 p.m. Aways and I, fueled by caffeine and desperation, were wrestling with a looming deadline. Our client's tardiness was the real culprit, but that didn't make our reality any less grim. As I wrestled with an Excel formula, a faint scraping sound sliced through the silence. It stopped as quickly as it began, leaving me unnerved. Aways, oblivious, was lost in his own work. "Bruh, you should have seen your face," Aways chuckled, breaking the silence. My jumpiness had amused him. "You're losing it. Need some sleep." "I'll sleep when this is done," I sighed, already back at my keyboard. "I hate this job." "Not much longer, right?" Aways said, his voice laced with a strange mix of relief and something else, unease. "This is our last day." He started packing his things. "Have you heard from Asjad Bashir?" he asked. "He left a week ago, radio silence." "Same here," I replied. "His phone's off." "You think it's related to that rumored curse?" "Come on, Aways," I scoffed. "You don't believe that nonsense, do you?" "I don't know what to believe anymore," he said, his gaze fixed on the empty office. "They say those who leave vanish." "Asjad's phone probably died," I said, trying to sound more confident than I felt. "And Sarah and Ahmed, they moved to China. They'll be in touch." "Junaid, it's been 3 months," Awais countered. "Ahmed, your work buddy, hasn't called?" "He's busy," I insisted. "He'll call." Awais just stared at the empty desks. "Don't worry," I said, patting his shoulder. "It's just a rumor to keep us chained to this place." "I hope you're right." Awais gave a weak laugh. "Anyway, I'm out. Lunch sometime and we can trash talk this place some more." He was in the memorial room. I bolted to the butcher's room, lighting a beacon in the darkness. It was a blood-soaked charnel house. Limbs lay scattered on the table. I frantically searched for an escape, a key, a button, anything. Nothing. Despair crashed over me. I crumpled to the floor. "I don't want to die," I choked out. He'd be back any minute. Then I saw it. A finger on a cleaver keychain hanging on the wall. I grabbed it. The door behind me creaked open. A force yanked me upright. "Well, well," a voice rasped. "The little fishy has strayed too far from the fishing net." I turned. One of the most hideous faces I'd ever seen leered at me. I struggled, but his grip was like iron. "Oh, the little fishy is putting up a fight." He grinned, his teeth yellowed and sharp. "I do love me some strong fish." He threw me onto the table. A massive hand clamped around my throat, choking me. "Now playtime is over, fishy. Time for you to sing the music of death." His face loomed closer, a sadistic smile twisting his lips. I clawed at his hand, but his grip only tightened. I gasped, and he laughed. "More music, fishy?" Summoning a final burst of strength, I gripped the cleaver keychain and plunged the finger into his eye. He howled, stumbling back. Gasping, I scrambled to my feet. Escape was my only thought. I sprinted from the room. "You piece of shit! I'll skin you alive!" he roared behind me. My phone flashlight cut through the darkness. I found the door to the memorial room, now a scene of carnage. Tables overturned, the air thick with the metallic scent of blood. I didn't have time to take it all in. I burst out of the room and ran towards the elevator. Frantically, I jabbed at the buttons. Nothing. Come on, come on. He was close. I could hear him crashing through the memorial room. I was trapped. Then I remembered the finger. I pressed it against the elevator button. To my relief, the elevator began to ascend. The doors slid open. At the same moment, the doors to the memorial room burst open too. The light from the elevator spilled into the corridor, revealing him charging towards me. Get here, you little fish. He raised his cleaver and hurled it towards me. I used the finger and pressed the ground level. The doors closed, stopping the cleaver from impaling me. The elevator descended and stopped at the ground level. The doors opened, revealing the reception area of the office with the security guard Kashif sitting there. As he saw me, he quickly stood and approached. What happened to you? You're a complete mess. And what's with all the blood? He asked, bewildered. There. I struggled to form any words. With that, I bolted out of the front door. I ran and ran, not even bothering to call a taxi. I needed to distance myself from that place and everything I had witnessed. I reached my house in no time, as I didn't live too far from the office. I locked all the doors and hid in my room. I don't know how, but somehow I managed to fall asleep. The next morning, I attempted to call a Waze, but received no response. I tried calling the security guard, Kashif, but his phone was powered off. Each number I attempted to call yielded the same result, no connection. During all this confusion, I noticed a text message notification on my phone. It was from a Waze, sent to me just after he left the office last night. The message read, Junaid, what the hell is going on in this office? Why the hell are there dead bodies being kept here? You've probably heard how WeWork operates. They buy out a few floors of an office building, gut them, and revamp them with a compact maze of glass-walled, glass-doored rooms furnished with industrial chic office paraphernalia, then rent each one out to small businesses and agencies for a lower price than leasing a full-size space, which can get especially pricey here in Manhattan. With one small business and up to 10 people per glass box, privacy is hardly a reasonable expectation. Those who make their way through the narrow corridors between the rows of offices are free to admire each tableau in the micro-capitalist aquarium. The exposed brick, the craft beer on tap, the curated playlists. Our co-working space was peak millennial chic until last night. I was working late, promising our admin I'd lock up. Engrossed in the weekly newsletter, I surfaced around 7 p.m., 2 hours past my intended departure. The office was empty, save for the whisper of the air ducts. A shiver ran down my spine. Needing a quick bathroom break before my long commute, I grabbed my phone and headed down the hall. Distracted by emails, I almost collided with a man standing motionless in the middle of the corridor. He was unnaturally tall, his tweed suit hanging off his gaunt frame. A trilby hat obscured his face, his head lolling to one side. I didn't recognize him. "My, you're here late," he rasped, his voice like nails on a chalkboard. Panic flared. The narrow hallway made escape difficult. I took a step back, watching him warily as he began to lift his head. "What's the matter, miss?" The hat brim rose slowly, revealing a sallow face stretched taut over sharp features. Cracked purple lips peeled back into a grotesque grin, revealing rows of yellow teeth. I was transfixed, horrified. Suddenly, a woman burst from a nearby office and grabbed my wrist. pulling me away from the man. "Don't look him in the eye," she hissed. "Just keep walking." "Miss," the tall man called after us. "Don't listen," my rescuer urged. We rounded a corner. The lights ahead were off, only the exit sign glowing faintly. My office was near there, shrouded in darkness. "Turn around, miss," the man shrieked from behind us. I couldn't resist. Through glass office walls, I saw him lurching after us, his movements jerky and unnatural. Terror seized me. He was gaining on us. "Look at me," he screamed. "Look at me, you stupid little—" We plunged into the darkness. The man's voice cut off abruptly. "No," the woman hissed, her grip tightening. "Just keep walking. Don't look into any of the offices but your own. Eyes on the ground." The darkness was thick and oppressive. Even the air ducts were silent. It felt heavy, like a physical presence, whispering just beyond my hearing. The air smelled of damp earth, a far cry from our sleek modern office. I trembled, struggling to breathe. Something wet splattered against the glass of the office to my left. I flinched, but I couldn't help but look. Dark liquid streamed down the glass. Something thudded against the other side. A man, his hand scrabbling against the slick surface before he was dragged away. My blood ran cold, and that was just the beginning. In another office, bodies hung from the rafters, swaying eerily. In another, a creature with amphibian fingers scrabbled across the glass, its pale eyes fixed on us. Monitors in another room displayed faces frozen in silent screams. From another office came crunching sounds and muffled sobs. Finally, we reached my office. "Be quick," the woman urged her back to me. I reached under my desk for my backpack. My hand recoiled. A little girl crouched in the shadows, emaciated and pale, her empty eye socket staring upwards. Her bone-thin fingers gripped my backpack. She opened her mouth and let out a low, inhuman whine. I grabbed my wallet, phone, and keys and backed away. We bolted for the exit. This time, I didn't look at the horrors in the other offices. At the exit, my hand shook as I fumbled with my key card. Finally, the light flashed green. We burst into the dim common area. My heart pounded, my breath ragged. "Thanks," I managed as we stepped into the waiting elevator. "What the hell was—" I froze. The doors closed behind us. Above waist level, the back wall was mirrored. I finally saw the woman who had led me through the darkness. It was me, or something like me. She had my body, my clothes, my face, but her eyes were solid black. As the doors closed, her face began to melt, to drip and bubble like hot wax. Terror, stark and absolute, gripped me. I was frozen, unable to move, unable to breathe. Her distorted face twisted into a horrible mocking grin. "We work here too," she shrieked in my voice, then threw her head back and laughed, a shrill, chilling sound that multiplied and echoed around me. The elevator lights flickered out, bathing us in bloody emergency lighting as her laughter rang out louder and louder, her mouth stretching impossibly wide, her eyes rolling madly. Waves of wild, howling mirth guttered out of her and surrounded me, deafening me. Finally, blessedly, the elevator doors opened. Her horrible laughter still reverberating in my ears, I staggered out into the lobby. I tripped and fell painfully to my hands and knees on the marble tile, lurched to my feet, and bolted through the revolving glass doors without daring to look directly at the spidery thing leering at me from behind the security desk. I've been a janitor pretty much straight out of high school. While cleaning disgusting toilets after they've been used by dozens of people all day isn't appealing, I love the freedom of the job, particularly during the night shift where I could slap on my headphones and turn on an audiobook, engrossing myself in a great story as I slowly and methodically worked through cleaning the whole building with no one to interrupt me. At least it always was like this until last night's events. Routine. It breeds complacency and a false sense of security. I learned that the hard way. Cleaning the trolley stocked, I entered the office block, the humming tube light stretching across the vast open-plan space. I plugged in the vacuum, noting the eerie stillness. A brief prickle on my spine, a primal warning, was quickly dismissed. Headphones on, noise canceling engaged, a fatal error. I started my audiobook. Methodically, I moved deeper into the office, glancing at family photos and sad little pot plants. My attention was mostly on the audiobook, now reaching its climax. The vacuum's steady hum abruptly ceased. I jumped, pulling off my headphones. The air was suddenly chilly. Looking back, I saw the vacuum cord cleanly severed about 5 feet away. Goosebumps erupted. The cut end of the cord twitched, moving away from me like a snake. Someone was pulling it. I looked down the aisle, a sense of vertigo washing over me. The office had stretched. The far wall, where I'd plugged in the vacuum, vanished into an endless expanse of desks. Yet, the cord continued to snake away. I ran towards it, my lifeline. The cord moved faster now, no longer subtle. Just as I reached for it, it slipped through my fingers, disappearing into the distance. I ran in the direction it had gone, desperate to find the wall, the exit. As the adrenaline faded, a new cold terror settled in. How could the office have become an infinite field of desks and chairs? Had someone drugged me? Was there a carbon monoxide leak? Anything was more palatable than accepting this impossible reality. I ran, but the wall never appeared. It felt like a treadmill. Gasping for air, a stitch in my side, I heard a quiet tapping, typing. It was coming from my right. A man sat in a cubicle, his back to me, his shoulders moving rhythmically. He was only a few cubicles away. Should I ignore him and keep searching for the exit? Or should I ask him for help? Desperate, I chose the latter. I approached his cubicle. He was motionless, frozen. His face was buried in his hands as if he were weeping, but no sound came from him. I stood behind him, his monitor in full view. "Hey," I squeaked. The words on his screen made my blood run cold. "You are not safe." He didn't move. He didn't make a sound. He just sat there, weeping silently with black tears. The lights flickered. I ran. My legs were shaky as I weaved through the cubicles, putting distance between the man and me. Finally, I slowed, coming to a stop somewhere in this infinite recurring plane. No footsteps behind me, no sign of the man. My phone registers no signal. I can't call anyone for help. I've been walking around aimlessly for a long time now. Occasionally, I find leftover plastic drink bottles in a cubicle, and I've been drinking from them. I don't even know if it's safe, but I don't have a choice. I've finally found this working computer in this random cubicle. There's nothing that differentiates it from the others apart from this computer, which was miraculously turned on when I saw it. I browse this forum regularly, but never did I ever expect myself to rely on it for my life. Please, I've tried everything I can do to get out. I've walked for what feels like miles. There is no exit to this place. I've tried to climb on top of the desks to get a higher view, and all I see is an expanse of cubicles. I've been able to transfer this photo from my phone using the USB cable I found in the drawer. I don't know why, but the image looks partially corrupted, sort of warped the closer you look. I don't like it one bit. I hear some sort of noise now. It's this low, steady groaning. I'm going to have to move and hide somewhere. I'll try to find this computer again to read your responses and try any solutions. If you don't hear back from me, you probably know what happened.